Welcome to the Undrafted Free Agents podcast, the football podcast that you thought was dead. But we're back. We're back. I'm Merp. With me is Richard, and we are back with another full episode of whatever's going to happen in 2025, 26, whatever happened in 2024, 25. I don't know. It's going to be a good one, right?
We wanted to wait until the new calendar year for the league,
which is already out.
That's right. May 1st. No, March 1st. March 1st, right?
Yes, I totally forgot because I knew some of the games that, as a Giants fan, the Giants were going to have, but I didn't know when they were going to be. So I was like, waiting for that to come out.
Yeah, I actually wanted your thoughts on that. What are your thoughts about the NFL not only doing a schedule release, but doing the release of the schedule?
Yeah.
Like, did you see that during the draft? They had a release date for the release of the schedule. And
yes.
People got really excited about the release of the release date of the schedule.
I mean, it's a juggernaut industry. Like, we had a few teams a few years ago get some clever videos out for the release date, and now everyone's got one. And I'm not complaining. You know, there's some good ones, there's some bad ones, there's some really great ones. Yes. I'm okay with there being the flops as long as we get some really great ones out.
Yeah. The first two that come to mind, I loved Tennessee Titans when they interviewed people on Broadway.
Yeah.
And they just showed them an NFL team logo. So this is who we're playing week one. Right. Who are we playing? And they, of course, picked the funny ones, but they had people guess, and the guesses were hilarious. I remember the Cleveland Browns, the person just thought that was the NFL logo.
Yeah. I think the Giants had a good one this year. I think the Chargers.
The Chargers anime they did it a couple of years in a row was top notch. Yeah, that really set the bar.
I think so. I think that's the one that put it on the map, and now everyone's got to jump on.
What was the Giants this year? Because a couple people sent it to me. I just can't remember what it was.
Yeah, they had just like anthropomorphic portrayals of the different teams.
Yes.
Yeah, like typical individuals from each town, or it was good.
It was good.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, any football content is good content. So
especially in May and June.
Yes. Yeah.
But again,
UFL is not cutting it.
Yeah, no. Very well planned out. You know, they've got something every month, right? You know, they put the draft where it is. They put the schedule release now. Mm-hmm. It almost has its own month to like be its own thing. And then now June's when they open up OTAs, and now we're back into the news cycle. We're like, we have players' names going into rotation, the news cycle, and we hear about what's going on. Get to hear about Aaron Rodgers again.
Is he just done and just hasn't told anyone? At this point,
who knows? Yeah, right?
I think he's just, the Steelers have moved past it. I think it's really just the Saints, right?
Is that so? Like, it painfully feels like the Steelers haven't, but we'll get to that, right?
Yeah. If they were a Facebook relationship, it would say it's complicated.
Yes. With Aaron Rodgers, it's always complicated.
It's always complicated.
But always a mess.
Yeah, that's accurate. Yeah.
All right, let's get to first down. If you remember our system here, we've got our 4 downs to get through our topics. We'll keep it short and sweet today. And our first down today is new faces and new places. There's a lot of movement, right? As you know, you get with a league with hundreds of players. And so we figured we'd pick out some interesting ones, right? Some swings and possibly misses. And we've got some faux awards.
Yeah. First off, I think this year, above previous years, or at least recent memory, a lot of quarterbacks on the move.
A lot of quarterbacks
on the move. And that's a common thread in this podcast where, like, this is such a quarterback-heavy league where if you don't have a good quarterback, it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah. And here's here's what I always say in real life, IRL. I may have mentioned in the podcast before, but I say this all the time. There do not exist 32 starting quarterbacks in the world, right? No. So maybe there are 15.
Yeah.
Really good, the level of quarterbacking that's required these days. And there's going to be movement because you're just trying to find that guy. Surprisingly, though, there's like ample opportunity, I guess, to really, really botch this, right? Which we'll get to that. But it's not just quarterbacks. We've got players up and down the roster, playmakers, interesting faces and people going around. So how do you want to start with like our?
So let's just rattle off.
Okay. Good.
So rattle off some significant names that moved around this offseason. So in no particular order, we have Sam Darnold, who's changed teams. DK Metcalf, Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, new home again in a relatively short time. Joey Bosa, Devontae Adams, Debo, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Joe Flacco. I'm going to throw in there. I know that wasn't in our production meeting, but I'm going to throw him in as well. New face, not
same place though.
Same place. Well, not last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
True.
All right. So let's start with some superlatives. So Merp.
The good before the bad.
Yes. Let's go with what new face, new place are you most excited about? What's the most interesting? What do you think?
I know we were talking about this and we said they're kind of the same thing, but I feel like they're different, and I'm going to go with the most interesting angle. And there are a lot of names on here, big playmakers, right? Like DK Metcalf and Debo. The question marks around their age and wear and tear for Debo, sure. Devontae Adams, right? Mm-hmm. But the name I'm looking at is actually Danny Dimes as being really interesting. And it's interesting not so much for what it says about Daniel Jones. Mm-hmm. We know about Daniel Jones. But it kind of tells us something about Anthony Richardson's play.
Yes, totally agree.
Not because we think it's perilous, like they're bringing in another starting quarterback. I actually think they're bringing in like kind of a clone to Anthony Richardson. So it's almost like they're backing themselves up around Anthony Richardson, and they're dedicating to
that type of quarterback.
That style of
which
football.
I'm surprised more teams don't do.
Right. You would think they would bring in someone who plays the same way as your starting quarterback. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks now are pretty unique in how they play. You're not going to find another Mahomes or Josh Allen. But they successfully found another Anthony Richardson. I think I saw some stats out there where they're
pretty comparable.
They're pretty comparable for all the good and the bad.
Yes.
Pretty amazing. Do you think that's how that process went? They're
I honestly I'm surprised more teams don't do it, because if you have, and I'm just gonna make up quarterback. So if your quarterback likes to sit in the pocket and just pick out his targets and go through his reads, that's great. But if your backup quarterback doesn't do that, now your offensive line has to change. The routes have to change. Your the plays you call have to change. Why not just pick two guys that do that? The team gets comfortable around it and knows how to, not even just how to be.
Yeah, it baffles me also all the time, and maybe it comes down to the fact that there aren't 32 starting quarterbacks. There aren't 64 decent quarterbacks that exist in the world. Mm-hmm. But I do recall some teams actually doing that. Remember New England's backups? They weren't so far from Tom Brady's style of play back in the day when Brady was there, and that proved to be successful for them. Whenever Brady
and you actually saw that too when they were successful and did well in New England. They left and didn't do so well. Jacoby Brissett, right?
Yep.
Was a Colt.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah. Got that starting job because of how well he did as Tom Brady's backup, and then just was never the same.
Yeah. you leave a system like
Yeah,
New
that's
England. But what do you think?
That's a really great pick. So I have two. I might go to not go so heavy in the Giants. I might go. I'm gonna go with my other choice. Sam Darnold. Okay, really successful year last year in Minnesota. Which and I'm gonna call this an interesting pick because Darnold had an amazing year last year.
Right.
Completely resurrected his career. He was destined to be a career backup. Got the shot in Minnesota when J.J. McCarthy went down, and did lit it up. Okay, End of the year kind of fell off. Okay, I think that's
playoffs.
Fair. Playoffs, yeah, which
okay.
happens. There's a reason why. Like you see all those stats go down. You're playing against the best teams.
Right.
You're not playing against the Giants, unfortunately, and other teams who were picking quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see how he does in Seattle. Okay, so he leaves Kevin O'Connell, yeah, in Minnesota, who has a really good track record of resurrecting quarterbacks' careers and putting them in the best possible situation, to Seattle, where it's not Pete Carroll anymore. He's out in Vegas. I don't know if it's going to work out.
Yeah, I think this is a great pick on your part.
Yeah.
Because especially stressing the word like interesting,
yes.
Or, like exciting. Like every week will be checking in for sure to see whether it was a fluke in Minnesota or whether he really has turned things around, considering just how awful it was in the Jets. And granted, the Jets are a quarterback grinder. They'll just chew up quarterbacks and destroy them.
Yeah.
Sorry, Justin Fields. But yeah, is this the real?
We left Fields off.
We left Fields off the list.
We just assumed it's going to go bad.
Yeah. And so
he's going to also like the head coach, defensive coordinator for the Ravens. He's not going to an offensive coach. And then on top of that, tying it back to the rest of our list, he loses DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
So like top weapons gone. I don't see how it's going to work. I really don't. They weren't a playoff team last year. I don't think this is really going to help them.
Right. With the things that they lost, is Darnold that much of an upgrade over Geno Smith?
No.
Right. Another one who left the fold.
Mm-hmm. Ironically, to go to Vegas where Pete Carroll is now.
Yeah.
It's funny how that all kind of plays out.
Uh-huh.
All right. Let's talk about our next superlative. Should we go positive or negative?
Let's go negative, and then
go negative. Okay. And on a positive note, I like it. Yeah. So let's talk least impactful. So what do we think is going to be the least impactful free agent signing?
Well, I am looking at this list actually, and there are a few long in the tooth players that are on this list, right? And I have to imagine, just because of the fervor of the Buffalo Bills fans, that they would be so excited about getting Joey Bosa's abilities and talent in. But I mean, every year it's like a dud, like an injury dud with him. So I'm gonna go with Joey Bosa and say it's gonna be a disappointing stretch where maybe he shows up for a game or two, tweaks something, and sits out for a few games, and it'll be like an up or down roller coaster like it's been with him. What do you think?
Yeah. When you see that, like, I'm a math guy. When you see that trajectory head downwards, I don't often see where, like, a new place just fixes all that.
Right.
And I think you hit the nail on the head. I think you might see, like, these bursts, like, 1 or 2 games here or there. But I don't think it's going to be, like, a shadow of what he was.
Yeah. And, I mean, what he was, we're talking about, like, 5 years ago.
Yeah, 5. Yeah. On top of that, it wasn't like 2 years ago.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, like you could sell yourself on, like, okay, bad last season, but 2 years ago was okay. We're talking about like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
We're talking like pre-COVID. Just to like wrap your head around that. All right.
Can you remember a player that that did have like a big bounce back? I'm trying to. I asked the question, but actually,
I can think of one, but I'm gonna keep it because it's our next superlative.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think that. I would you agree with that? A little teaser for the audience.
I don't think. No, I don't.
Maybe I'm just. You know what I'm doing? I'm like stringing together bad seasons together, but there were good seasons in between.
Yeah, and it wasn't so long ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
actually, we don't have to go that far. What about Sam Darnold?
Clear. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
or Geno Smith.
Let's just pick any
quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, Zach Wilson next year is going to be.
Zach Wilson's going to, if Aaron Rodgers plays wherever he plays,
right.
Bounce back year. All right. So my least impactful, I'm torn between two. I'm torn between Geno Smith, at the Raiders.
Yeah.
And Jameis Winston. I think I'm going to go with Jameis.
I think that's smart, actually. Yes. I know you brought up Geno Smith. He's actually got some offensive playmakers that could help him have a decent season. Mm-hmm. I mean, getting Ashton Genty is one thing, but Brock Bowers, holy cow.
Yeah, oh my God. He's one of the few cases where I saw him play at Georgia.
Yeah.
And I was like, this guy's special. Because the catches he made at Georgia were incredible. And I'm like, that's going to translate.
Yeah.
And I'm not often right, but I got that one.
I did not realize, watching League Neighbors and how great he did, that at the end of the season, when all was said and done, Brock Bowers had more receptions and yards than League Neighbors at the unquote tight end position. Mm-hmm. I think we've got to look in the mirror and create a new position for these guys, right?
Yeah. So I'll go with Jameis. Okay.
Yeah.
So Jameis, former first overall pick, had some good years in Tampa. Kind of fell off. Was in that backup role. He went to Cleveland more as an insurance policy, and he got brought to the Giants. And at the time, he was QB1 when he was brought there. I don't think Giants fans were super excited. We thought it was weird.
Some excitement.
Some excitement. He is fun to watch.
He is fun to watch.
He is fun to watch. There aren't too many incompletions, and what I mean by that is when he throws the ball, someone's going to catch it.
Right.
Hopefully, it's on the team he meant to throw to.
Yes.
It might be the other team, but someone's going to catch it.
Right.
But the reason I'm going to go with Jameis Winston is the Giants are going to find themselves in a really interesting position. So they have Russell Wilson, who's clearly QB1. Okay? Everything you hear about Dart from OTAs, it's really exciting.
Yeah.
You hope he sits.
Right.
But there's a scenario where Wilson's not doing well, he gets hurt, and Dart just leapfrogs Winston. Maybe they're fighting for a playoff spot. Maybe they're, hovering around, and Dart's just the best option.
Right.
So Winston just might be there. He just might be a morale guy.
Right.
And if that's what he is and he does it well, that's awesome. But I see a scenario where they skip Jameis, go to Dart, or maybe bring in Tommy DeVito. I don't know.
I'm going to counter that.
Go for
least impactful. I actually think he's going to be very impactful.
As a locker room guy?
And I will save that for third down.
Okay.
I will
okay.
That third down.
Wow, we are just like the foreshadowing kings.
Yeah. Today, I mean, we're so organized today with our with our topics.
Yes.
We're looking ahead.
All right, so we move on to the next superlative?
Yeah, so speed round, right? We got
speed round, yes.
We got to move through this.
Yeah.
So our 2025, and it hurts me even just to say this. I know we agreed to make this the name of
and it fits so well, but it hurts so much.
All right. Faces on a move to new places. Who's our 2025 Saquon?
Yeah.
Our new breakout, Super Bowl winning, impactful mover on the list.
What are you thinking? You go first.
I don't know. It's not a great, deep, really, powerful list of players going to teams that are ready to make the league.
Yes.
Like,
it's
where
pretty
are
shallow pool.
Where are these guys going? Like, where's DK going?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, don't remember. Where's DK going?
DK?
Yeah. I mean, Russell Wilson is at the Giants, New York Giants. I think the closest, like, to bring their skills somewhere would be Devontae Adams.
Okay.
Right? Did he go back to Las Vegas? Am I messing that up?
Let's see.
I feel like
Rams.
He went to the Rams. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
Established
quarterback. And, well, actually,
playoff
I think that's the one. Because not only do you have, like, the last gasp of Matthew Stafford, we think that dude's so tough he'll play from his wheelchair probably.
Yeah.
But to be opposite Puka, that's a upgrade over Cooper Kupp, and to have been in the playoffs, had a pretty good run in the playoffs. That's okay. Devontae Adams.
You're selling yourself on it?
I am.
Okay.
I mean, he's a big name guy.
Yeah.
Lots of talent. Still has football left in him. It's a definite win now landing spot.
Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom and bounce up.
Are we talking about the Jets? Are we talking about the Jets being rock bottom?
Yeah, but it's also a segue to my pick because I'm going to go Daniel Jones.
Oh.
Rock bottom being the New York Giants.
Okay.
So he's had a couple months to kind of get away from that situation, which if you remember,
what a fiasco.
He wasn't let go. He was asked to be, he's like, just release me.
Yeah.
Let me go about my way. Spent some time in Minnesota,
right.
With the quarterback whisperer. And now he's going to the Colts, who, weren't too far removed from the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay. Recent seasons. And maybe he just steps in. Richardson has a rough couple of games, steps in, and just shows us what he showed us back in, was that 2023?
Yes.
Yeah, let's say it's 2022.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe just some of that magic.
Some of that magic. Some of that magic where, like, they didn't let him throw the ball for most of the season.
You're not thinking of DeVito, are you?
I'm not thinking of DeVito.
Remember that one game?
I do remember that.
Yeah, that was wild.
Absurd. I mean, I say that, but it was a menu that worked.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, I mean, he could run the ball. So.
Yeah, and people forget, fastest ever recorded quarterback.
Like in game?
Yeah, in game.
Tell me that's not the Eagles.
That is the Eagles run.
Really?
Where he fell down. He was so fast. He outran himself.
That's how it happened. That's what we're gonna say from now on. We're gonna tell our kids.
Side note, and then we can move on. How did that not become as big as the butt fumble? Remember when the Mark Sanchez, I'm surprised. The butt fumble, people just ran with that for years.
Right.
And Daniel Jones did that, and people dropped it pretty fast.
I mean, the butt fumble's catastrophic. It was a turnover. They didn't return it for a touchdown, did they?
Yeah, no, they did.
They did. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the Giants scored on that play, on that drive.
No, field goal.
Oh, it was a field goal?
Yeah. If they scored it, it wasn't a touchdown. It was, if anything, it was a field goal.
Okay. Still.
Yeah.
Not a turnover for a touchdown.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to move on to second down. That play is over. And we've got a good one for you guys. This is pretty good. We decided we would debate what is the most ridiculous QB room in the NFL right now. And we've filtered it down to 3. We've got our New York Giants QB room.
Yes.
The
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Pittsburgh Steelers, quote unquote QB room.
Yes.
And as always, perennially, if this topic was a perennial topic, the Cleveland Browns quarterback room. We're gonna try not to consider
our
the whole
bias.
entire past of the Cleveland Browns. We'll keep it current.
All right. So really quick, can I just read off those quarterback rooms for our
why don't you
audience?
do that?
All right. So
I'm gonna take care of a technical thing actually.
Yeah, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we're going off of ESPN's official depth chart. So QB1 is listed as Mason Rudolph. Number 2 is Will Howard, then Skylar Thompson. For the Giants, we have Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Jackson Dart, Tommy DeVito. Okay, in that order. And then Cleveland, I'm actually going to go 5 deep here because I think the 5th one is significant. So the starter is officially listed as Deshaun Watson. Then we have Kenny Pickett as QB2. QB3, we have Joe Flacco. QB4, we have Dylan Gabriel. And this is, I feel like, the only team you would mention QB5, Shedeur Sanders. Okay. So, some unique quarterback rooms to say the least. What's the old saying, Nahum? If you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have 1?
Yeah, but what's the saying for 5 quarterbacks?
Yeah, I know. You really don't have 1.
Yeah.
All right, so Murph, what's your pick for most ridiculous QB room?
Surprisingly, I'll say off the bat, it's not the team with 5 quarterbacks. Okay, because that's ridiculous. That's absurd.
Maybe the side note: the Cleveland Browns not too long ago were trying Moneyball. If you remember the famous Brad Pitt Jonah Hill film, they brought in the Jonah Hill's character in that movie is a combination of a couple of guys.
Right.
They took one of those guys and hired him at the Cleveland Browns.
Remember that. Yeah.
So maybe they're just trying like a reliever, pitcher reliever, like kind of rotation where like, okay, well, in this situation we'll use this quarterback. Yeah. This one we'll use this quarterback.
I hope he's writing a paper on the applicability of baseball strategy in football.
So you're not going with Cleveland.
I'm not going with Cleveland. I'm going to go the opposite direction in the team that has 0 quarterbacks present, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and their dance with the devil, as it may be, which maybe it'll turn out okay, but right now it's not looking great. And they've got nothing. And what is out there right now? Nothing. Besides
Rodgers, nothing.
Exactly. And so
maybe Cousins. Maybe you get Cousins.
Maybe. Oh, okay. I mean,
you'd have to
that's
trade
a
for
big, big bill.
Yeah.
To pay. But to have this whole situation play out, going into the draft, I feel like it was really, really a poor play to not be prepared with a quarterback in hand and not walk away with some talent at that position from the draft.
Yeah.
Right.
To counter that, Will Howard shot up everyone's draft board just by winning the national championship at Ohio State. So, do I think he's the answer? No. But they could be relying on that. It's not a great insurance policy, especially you bring in DK Metcalf,
right?
Who wants the ball.
Oh, that's right. That's where DK ended up.
Yes.
That's rough. That if you have a rookie quarterback that is not of the pedigree of our first rounders, and you've got someone like DK in your ear.
I want the ball. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I want to say I don't know what they're doing. I don't think that's the case. I think we're banking on Rodgers,
right? And
didn't have a plan B,
right?
And I think that's clear now that they don't have a starting quarterback.
They don't.
Yeah, I know you have to list one, but I feel like. Do you remember years ago when I think it was the Dolphins signed Mark Sanchez, but they introduced him at the press conference as their backup quarterback, but they didn't have a first one. Like the Steelers almost have to maybe Rodgers signs with them. I don't think it's likely. It seems like he's just going to ride off into the sunset.
Yeah.
But it seems like they were banking on that.
We'll see what the tea leaves say.
And it didn't come to fruition.
Yeah. Yeah. And then now, unfortunately, it looks really bad. It looks like they're caught with their pants down, so to speak. And they're just in an awful position.
Yeah. And to give you a little bit more into Will Howard, he was a 6th round pick. So quarterbacks in the 6th round, minus Tom Brady.
Right.
Not a huge talent pool.
I hear they could have gotten a quarterback in the 5th round with some first round pedigree.
Yes, great segue, because mine is the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, they, I guess, are doing quarterback by committee. Because
honestly, I wish that was a thing in the NFL. I wish that was more of a thing.
We're gonna timestamp this. Like, we're gonna say it's a thing. We don't have the pedigree to do that or know how to do that, but I'm gonna call it and say that's a thing.
Yeah, we're coining it. You heard it here first. Future of the NFL gonna have quarterback by committee.
Yes. Yeah. So Browns, fresh everyone's memory. QB1 is Sean Watson, who we don't suspect is going to play
for a few reasons.
Yes.
He is a season-ending injury right now.
Yes.
He's not physically capable of playing. Yeah. But he's also outstayed his welcome. Worst deal ever. Fans are not happy about it. No one's happy at this point.
I did hear that Myles Garrett, one of the talking points when he was negotiating his deal is I want a Super Bowl carable quarterback. We got one who just won one. Kenny Pickett. Not great. That's QB2. Joe Flacco. We love Joe Flacco on this podcast.
Yeah.
I do at least. But he's not the answer. And then Dylan Gabriel had a tremendous career in Oregon. He's a rookie, so you never know. And then Shedeur Sanders. I still don't get that. I understand you drafted one of those two guys, but both of them in back-to-back rounds is strange to me.
It is. That's wild. Whatever you have to say about Shedeur, just the idea of drafting those two quarterbacks at those two spots.
Yeah.
It's one of them is going to be a wasted pick.
Yes.
Right, and there's no space for waste in the NFL. Every part of the animal is used.
Yeah.
So
I do. Yeah. I agree with that. I think one of those picks is going to be waste, but I am also of the mindset that every team, every single year, should spend, I'll say, a high draft pick, maybe first 4 rounds on a quarterback, because you should just always have one developing.
Yeah.
Just always, because you never know.
Right.
Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to leave. Someone's going to go to free agency. You just have always one, maturing.
Yeah, and in an ideal NFL, quarterback development is actually a thing that exists.
Yes.
It is not a thing that exists right now. There is no time spent developing these guys. So yeah. And our New York Giants escape unscathed?
Until right now.
Yes.
So, 3rd down.
I proposed this
to
you, Richard. I posit there's a possibility that maybe the New York Giants are actually geniuses.
Do explain.
And I apologize to our national audience. that definitely exists. Richard and I are both Giants fans, so in the New York metro area. So we are influenced. Not under the influence. If you look at, forget about 2024-25 and that off season on Hard Knocks.
And the season before.
Okay. A few seasons. If you look at how this preseason, this off season has played out and project into the actual season, I think they may have made enough of the right moves to put the team in position for real growth. Like maybe not 25, 26, but they have a core of players, right? They have a set of deals in hand that really can benefit the New York Giants going forward. Okay, and there was the whole snafu with Saquon and Daniel Jones, but all that's over. That's over. Yeah. We had a draft.
That's why we're even talking about
we had a NFL draft that, by most accounts, was a good draft.
Yes.
Some people think it was a great draft, right?
2 people sitting here.
Moving up to get Jackson Dart, I was surprised that happened. And then you look at the actual deal that was made, I was even more surprised that they really did not give up a king's ransom to get that. We don't know, but Jackson Dart looks pretty good.
Yes,
right.
And I'm gonna support you with some data.
Okay.
The Star Predictor Score, which of course is a test that we all knew about before this year and trusted heavily.
Yes.
Right. We all knew that.
Absolutely. I look at it every day. That data.
Yeah. Just heard about it. Side note: I'd love when like NFL fans just find any little thing to be like, yes, that is why our draft was amazing.
Yes. Any pinhole of light coming through.
Yes. So it is a test that they give NFL draftees and prospects, I guess, just as a predictor of future success. And Jackson Dart tied the highest score ever with a 100, perfect score. He tied with Lamar Jackson.
Wow.
And he beat Patrick Mahomes.
That's it. It's a lock.
Yeah, that's it. No further explanation. No.
Where do I buy my Giants Super Bowl winning championship hat?
Can we just buy it and then they'll add the year later?
Yeah.
Or years.
To speak it into being.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yes.
Right. And this is very important to know that he was like the Giants' second pick, because their first pick was a home run. Getting Abdul Carter.
The top prospect by most experts.
Yeah, there's always a quarterback to be picked.
Yeah.
There's always a team that has to almost be forced into investing in that quarterback. Yeah. And then the Jaguars did what they did.
Yes.
And so he was there, and to have him on the defense that the Giants have now,
which isn't a bad defense.
It's like almost an overstatement to say they're going to be a great defense right now because it's the offseason. But I mean, look at that roster.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. They had some other movements on the defense as well. They've drafted a few guys to play the inside linebacker spot. It's pretty good. They have some young secondary players, and then they brought in a very complimentary free agent in the secondary, Javon Holland, that will work well with the front line and the rest of the defense. So there's that, right? Okay, good draft. They've been working that offensive line, right? It was not great last year, but not for effort. They invested in it. They've got some studs like Andrew Thomas, who was not there for most of last year. Hence the down year. Okay. But then we have our quarterback room.
Yes.
Right? And how about this? How about we ended up with 2 former starting quarterbacks?
Yes.
Right? We have a rookie first rounder that's looking like he can make a push.
Time to develop.
That's
the key.
Right? And don't forget Tommy DeVito, who's a decent backup.
Yeah.
Career backup.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of what you want in a backup, because he'll be there. He'll always be there.
And he's not going to unseat anyone.
Right.
He's like that. Right. The last couple of years have proven that. He's not
there. Let's say we are 5 games into the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually around when, a team...
Yeah, they usually look at quarters.
Yeah, a team somewhere out there will have lost their starting quarterback to injury.
Ooh, I like this scenario.
Right? And we have Russell Wilson playing okay.
Mm-hmm.
The team looks pretty good. We've got Jameis Winston, who has not put up a bad game on tape as a Giant, right? And we know Dart is pushing. So now we have a commodity. And the player who is maybe least impactful on your list actually gets to make an impact.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Had I known this when I picked my players, I would change the tune. But that's a scenario I think most Giant fans would take in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Yes, this is definitely hyperbolic, projecting, hoping for the best case scenario where we have 9 sacks a game shared between Thibodeau, Lawrence, and Carter. Mm-hmm. And Russell Wilson is just launching balls at neighbors.
Burns.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about Burns. Who actually just restructured his contract. And so the front office is, they are, if they lose their jobs, it's not for lack of trying. Yeah. Again, they are doing everything they can to make things right.
I'm going to make a baseball analogy real quick, and hockey it applies to too, but when you see guys in baseball and hockey have that contract year where they're at the end of their contract, they want a bigger contract, they put up insane numbers.
Yeah.
You're going to see that with Dayball and Joe.
Right.
Yeah, right? You're just going to see them do everything they possibly can to keep their jobs. So they're just going to make all the moves.
Yeah.
We might come back next season with this pod oh my goodness, why did they trade away all our assets and still didn't make the playoffs? But
right.
I'm going to hope that doesn't happen and everything does work out.
Right.
And we're lifting the Lombardi Trophy.
Yeah.
Again, sometime soon.
You say trade away all our assets. I mean, aside from draft picks, there are not a lot of tradable players on the Giants. So, yeah, I am obviously going to be tuning in closely to the New York Giants, but it's just an optimism that hasn't been around for a while. I think, last year, just the wind gets sucked out of your sails before the first whistle blew, seeing everything going on with Saquon, and we all saw Daniel Jones. I'm sorry, he's your pick, but I pride myself in saying that I can look at a quarterback and tell, and I did not ever see it in Daniel Jones. I constantly said there was that year where they went to the playoffs, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe he's proving me wrong, but then he didn't.
I mean, with the huge pedigree that Duke football has of turn out NFL quarterbacks. Yeah. All right. Should we go for it on 4th down or punt?
This is the Undrafted Free Agents podcast.
Only get one shot.
Yeah. We've got to go all out. We got to Daboll it.
Okay. Let's do it. So, the future of football.
Yeah. So who knows when our next Undrafted Free Agents podcast pod will be. So let's talk about the future now.
All right. So some background. We're seeing some crazy, exciting stuff pop up in other sports now. Yeah. So you have Unrivaled, which is the women's 3-on-3 basketball league that was very successful.
Existed.
You have 3v3 basketball made its way into the Olympics.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing. For a lot of these sports, presence in the Olympics is really expanding.
Flag football coming up in 2026, right?
28, I think, or is it 26? I honestly don't know.
All right, we'll look it up. But also,
wait, can I have my 2 minutes to talk about my rugby?
Yes, go for it.
Rugby, a sport that exists in other parts of the world, but not one that's super accessible to Americans. It made the Olympics in a new format, right? There's a 7 versus 7 format. They actually just call it rugby sevens. Mm-hmm. High intensity, really quick game. They're actually 15-minute games. The whole game on the game clock is 15 minutes. And it's so exciting to watch. I ask everyone to check out Sevens Rugby because it's this cross of football and fast break basketball, lots of great contact, intricate, interesting strategy. But again, a change that a sport made to increase its relevance. increases exposure, and I think it's been a hit. So there is still rugby, 15 on 15 rugby fans. They are diehard fans. They're out in Wales and Australia and New Zealand. But I think the sevens game,
like for a long time, the number 2 ranked sevens team in the world behind Fiji. For a good amount of time, they did.
Yeah, and the popularity in the U.S. expanded because the sevens women's U.S. team. Oh, I just said that all backwards. The U.S. women's sevens team did place bronze in the Olympics, which was a real coup d'état for American rugby, and I think it's gonna create some more buzz. At least I hope so. It's a really great game.
Yeah.
But yes, these sports, they're all really coming into the future, really trying to chase down the big 2 probably of American football in America.
Yeah.
And soccer, around the world.
Thank you for acknowledging soccer.
Yeah. And you have to, because those are the 2.
Yes.
Because there's very little change in those 2 sports, right? So what does football look like in the future? Does it look like what we saw in Starship Troopers? We were watching that clip earlier.
I hope not, because I get why they did it, but the no face mask should never be a thing. If you see the movie, they don't wear face masks.
Right.
So back to your previous point, it is 2028. You were right.
Okay.
Side note: did you know when you host the Olympics, you get to add one event as the host nation?
Oh, I did not know that.
So we added flag football, and I wouldn't be surprised. I would have to check for France or Paris, but France for a long time was the number 1 rugby team in the world. So I wouldn't be surprised if they chose sevens
rugby.
or breakdancing, which is gone, by the way.
Oh no!
Yeah, they took that out real fast.
No! Are they gonna blame
the
ray gun?
Ray gun from Australia.
Oh my god, that's. I'm sorry, ray gun.
Yeah,
I do use your meme pretty heavily though.
We stand with ray gun.
Yeah.
So, all right. So the future of football. So, when we had talked about this in our production meeting.
I love that you call it a production meeting.
Yeah, no,
and not else? Ninth period.
It comes up. The NHL hockey has abandoned the All-Star game,
right,
and has replaced it with this amazing tournament, the Four Nations.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be tough to do, obviously, because football is such an American sport that you would. I don't know what other countries would participate. Probably Canada, but it would be just terrible. The U.S. would destroy everyone. So what if we did something like geographical in the U.S. where, you have to have some kind of prize money. Yeah. So what the NHL did was they did it in All-Star Weekend. There is some nation pride. So the U.S. took it really serious. Finland, Sweden, Canada. But what if we did some the Northwest, the Northeast, Southeast, a Middle America? I was about to say Southwest. That's a thing. I know directions. But what if we broke it up that way, where you had guys play to represent regions of the country, and then we could have an international team. We could have all the international countries, because
both of them.
Yeah. You probably have to. I don't know where you get a quarterback from, but But what if we did that way, where it replaces the Pro Bowl? You get some regional pride, some fun.
Right.
But we do it by where a player's from, not the team they play for necessarily.
I'm not sure what word to use. I have thought about that. From time to time,
because you can't do it by country. Because it would just
mostly because I wonder where do all these football players come from, right? This would be a way to find out.
This would be a fun way to find out.
That's interesting.
You can even do a draft where you can, so you get the 4 teams.
Yeah.
And they don't draft players; they draft states.
Ooh.
Yeah, because California is it in the I know directions. I promise I do. Is that in the northwest?
Yes.
Or the southwest?
Right.
It's a big state.
Right.
That's probably going to go first overall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something to think about. Something fun. Something different.
Yeah. Definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
I wonder where flag football's place is going to be. Right. Like, is it the future of football? Like, is there some middle of the way between flag football and the current American football that we're going to see? Because obviously the rules are changing. Even like fan sensibilities changing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the same football fan as it was 30 years ago who would love to see someone die on the field. I don't know. I'm just assuming about baby boomers.
Yeah.
But
what was that old NFL commercial from the 70s where if you play it today, every single scene, every cut is a penalty?
Yeah, each one of these hits is a penalty.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, we love seeing the ball in the air, scoring. Of course, we appreciate defense. But does the game need to be different? There's obviously a big emphasis on safety. So, you know, what is it? What is the best way forward for football to retain its place where it's exciting enough to fend off? I mean, it's not much right now. Like basketball, I watched the NBA playoffs because of the Knicks, and the refereeing was as frustrating as it ever was. You know, hockey's nice. It's nice.
I know. You know,
baseball's place is
it's fall.
Yeah,
it's fun in the fall.
Yeah.
I have an idea. So the UFL, the Rock Football League, the combination of actually we should give a shout out. I believe her name is Danny Garcia. She was the first women's commissioner of any league.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. His former wife runs the league. First female commissioner. We should give her respect. If that's going to be the second tier,
right?
They do experiment with a lot of rules.
Yes.
They get rid of the extra point kicking, and they have different plays from different yards that are worth different points. Maybe the NFL goes that way. They have a new kickoff that's much safer.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if not only do you see those rules come in, but they just get experimented in the UFL.
Right.
Similar to in baseball when they tried out the pitch clock in the minor leagues before it came to the majors.
Uh-huh.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that's how the future of football is decided through this second tier league.
Yeah, I would love to see again, like a flag football and NFL football cross where it's maybe try a different number of players on the field. You know, like Canadian football, bigger field, 12 players, or smaller. You know, 7-on-7 drills are so much fun. Let's go 7-on-7, or these two-hand touch formats that we've played in, something along those lines with blocking. I don't know. I'd love
it's
to see
definitely going to get
experimentation.
safer. It definitely is. It just that's a wave that's not going to stop. But how they do it, I think it's going to be really
exactly.
fun.
And we all want to see it get safer and stay exciting. A la kind of like the way rugby did their sevens. You know, if you look at those rules, and it's exciting. It's, you know.
I love how if you look at like sports that we love, the Venn diagram, the intersections, football, and then we just try to tie in these other sports that we like, that the other person's like, I have no idea, so I'm not gonna counter your argument.
All right.
Okay, so that's been our 4 downs, and looks like we're gonna turn over on downs on our part. Yeah.
Have gone for it on 4th down.
No, we should not have. It was a tall task. But thanks for joining us on the Undrafted Free Agents podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And we hope to see you again soon. Please like, subscribe, and follow. And, this has been awesome.
Yeah. You guys have a good one.
Yeah. Take care.